big old tractor, beat up little tractor. And up at the house, the John Deere is up there, the heart of our operation. So today we're going to try to get some hay in before the storms, and kind of a late July cutting. Fella down there running an old Massey Ferguson with a rake, and the other guy was running a old Alice Chalmers 160 he rebuilt with a new idea. How about that for a name? Disc bind that he had rebuilt. So this is kind of like hobby farmers right here. And the deal I have with these guys and people like them is the less I do, the less they pay. So basically selling them hay, and you know, there's a baseline fee for landowner, and if I'm cutting it, that's something else, or baling it, that's something else. But if they cut it and they rake it, you know, that's less. That's how we work this one, this field. It's just about 20 acres, maybe a little more, 25. So I'll let him make one more lap before I fire up the baler right there. And that's like a 1970s era, 74, 75 era, 1066 black stripe turbo. You know, it's a good tractor. It's an old tractor. About the only thing it needs right now is the front end. The spindles are a little bit sloppy, but the rest of it's pretty tight. You know, and then that's an old John Deere 330 round baler. You know, it's supposed to be 4x4, but it does more like 4x5 if you let it grow a little bit. So here he comes, moving right along. I figure when he gets enough of a windrow going, that's when I'll start baling. And then I'll do is do a lap, come up and grab him, and then I'll do another lap. Boy, I heard something crashing down there in the, I don't know what that is. Oh, I see a guy up there, up in the field. Son of a gun. What's he doing up there? See if I can zoom in on it. Figure out who the heck it is. I don't know who that is. Huh. Alright. So he's come around. I'll get out of the way. Just moving right along. Making a nice windrow. See, the key is it's got to be narrow enough to fit into the mouth of this older baler. Now some of the newer ones have got ways to gather the hay and stuff it in there. This one does not. You know, it's really not that big. We put new belts on it. One of the things I like about these is these right here. That gives you an idea of how big the ends of the bale are, so you can sort of keep them even by getting these two lines about the same before you pitch it out the back. And then you have a cylindrical bale versus a conical bale. So if I get to here, it's 1, 2, 3, that's a 4x4, but if I get to there, it's another whole foot. It's a 5x4, at least by measurement. That's what we've learned. And my neighbors keep telling me, man, turn out before you get to that 5, man, turn out. You're losing money. I said, nope. My customers are expecting a bale like I did last year. So I do the same thing I've always done. So I think I'm going to fire up and get going. seems to me, is every time we get the camera out, it settles down. So maybe what we need to do is leave the cameras out and the storm will go right by us. You know what would be cool if you got a minute, if you don't mind? Let's go on top of one of the hills and see over the valley, see what it looks like.
We kind of are. Now it's starting to strike out.
Yeah. I mean, like on the top of Penelope or somewhere like that. Bet that makes some amazing pictures. Well, this has been kind of an education. And my tedder's broke, right? My big tedder. I'm gonna have to make a part that'll make a nice video. And these guys with that Massey and that old Alice over there, they're working this field. You know, of course, I'm gonna do the baling, and it's my field, so you know, it's a shared effort. But I was pretty sure we lost this entire field, because after we cut the first part of it, and he'd raked it up, we had a heavy flash flood storm that wasn't predicted. What a mess. And I was like, you know, this stuff is gone. They're never going to be able to dry this out to the point where it can be baled, you know. So I'm looking at, you know, $1,000 loss or more. Well, they came yesterday and they flipped it, got it off the ground, just rolled it over, and then they cut the rest of the field over there, cut the rest of it over the hillside you can't see. And I started looking at this hay, and it has the right kind of smell. All right, what is this thing here? This is a single cylinder 2-stroke that was marketed by Mariner, and I think this one's a 5-horse.
Mariner 5.
Mariner 5-horse. But there's a bunch of these that got sold through a variety of different manufacturers. And this one here was made in Japan, and I believe it was made by Yamaha in Japan. Let's see if we can find a tag on it.
Yamaha right there.
It does say Yamaha. So this was marketed under Mariner and Yamaha, and there was a whole bunch of them actually that use that same basic motor with a different label. Now this is our kind of like our plan B, get a person home motor if something fails, but also possibly a trolling motor, so that's why it has interest. And I bought it for $100, and it had this wooden handle on it. So he's going to put on one that we found for another $100 about. So I'll have a $200 get me home motor, and it runs great. Nothing wrong with the way it runs. So today I want to do that. So that's the backdrop. So what do you have to do to put that on there?
Well, considering I've never seen this thing before, looks like super easy. Take off these 2 nuts, pull off this cap, unscrew the throttle cable from the top of the carburetor, yank that out, shove this in, screw it back on, you're done.
We'll see how easy that is.
So, sounds great, but you know how that works.
So it's just those 2 8mm.
That's it. 2 8mm, and then you got your one screw to bind on this for setting your throttle.
So yeah, getting the cable back through that hole with it splayed out was not fun, but got full throttle. So now it has the right handle instead of a block of wood. Well, what could have been a disaster is turning out to be a heyday. Got rained on, but we were able to get it pretty dry. Flipped it a bunch of times with a rake. I wanted to ted it, but the guy buying it didn't really want to tet it, and he's got elbow grease in it in the sense that he's running the rake, and if I tetted it out, he'd have to put a whole bunch more rake time in. Now he's hauling 18 per load, and at the rate we're going, I've already got over 50 down. He's going to have about 110, 120 bales out of this. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 right there. Then 18 right there. That'll be his first load. So well, it's the second load going out today. There's a load down there, so I guess tomorrow we'll get them out. for trolling.
Possible. Yeah, it does want to idle high though. That's just because that cable is a little bit short. They clipped it when they gave it to you.
That's all it's got.
That's it. I mean, it'll get you where you need to go. It just, you know.
Now the question is, will the Mercury restart?
Yep. No, I'm sure it'll be fine. But even if it's not, that one's fine. It's just going to take a little longer to get there.
All right, let's see if this one restarts.
But yeah, that throttle cable will be.
Good. So now we have two running motors. Want to try to drown some worms?
That'll work. Sure.
Here, I'm going to take this and check it out. Readjusted that throttle cable and it'll sit there and putt like that. Pumping. Warm. Pumping. We got this thing to run and got us out here and we restarted it and it ran good. We got a functioning fishing boat now. So now we have to start actually fishing instead of running around in circles. That's my get me home motor. When this one breaks, this one gets you home. Well, that was successful. The little goofy lights from Walmart, they worked. That little 5-horse single cylinder, that thing putted all the way across the lake. And the Mercury now is stable. It idles and restarts and does all the things the motor's supposed to do. And plus it's gorgeous here. Look at this.